This is Buffalo State Data Talk, the podcast where we introduce you to how data is used and explore careers that involve data.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Buffalo State Data Talk. I'm your host, Heather Campbell. Today, we'll be talking to Nathan Hall. Nathan is the SEO analyst for the International Association of Better Business Bureaus. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nathan.
Well, thank you, Heather. Appreciate being here and happy to share my knowledge of the data analyst field and hopefully enlighten your listeners a little bit.
Super excited to hear everything you have to say. So just to start off, could you give us just a really general overview of what do you do for the company?
Yeah, so my role at the IABBB, official title is SEO analyst. I spend a bulk of my time reviewing our website data to look for trends, to look for issues that might be coming up. But I also provide a lot of help and consulting for our membership in regards to digital marketing, using the data that we compile to make better decisions for what they're doing on the ground floor.
Excellent. So you said that you spend some time, analyzing, looking at data. Could you give us an example of the types of data sets that you typically work with? And what is the goal in collecting and analyzing this data?
Sure. The data that we primarily focus on is what we refer to as analytics data, website analytics data. We have two software packages we use to compile and track the data, Adobe Analytics and Google Analytics. So they're the tools that populate and track all of the information for us. And so what I do is use those tools on a daily, weekly basis to see how overall traffic is doing, where our traffic is coming from. Are we seeing declines? If we are seeing declines, beginning to dive into that data to try to determine what's causing it, along with also tracking what we're doing out on the internet in terms of marketing to see performance, analyze what's working and what isn't. I also provide support to the local BBBs in helping answer their questions or run reports that they need for specific questions they have or data that they need in order to help their operation run better.
It sounds like you use a lot of data from a lot of different areas.
It's every day. The data is really a driver of our business and the decisions we're making. We've, in the last 6 months, really moved into a much more data-driven decision-making process. And the way that we did that is implementing a tool called Adobe Target, which is another product by Adobe that allows us to do A/B and multivariate testing, which is essentially the ability to show one visitor an option or a layout and then show another visitor a different layout and then determine what was the reasons for either a decline or an increase in performance. And so that's something we're ongoing doing. It's kind of an iterative process where you're constantly just looking to just improve a little bit every test, or at least get an understanding of maybe things that aren't working. And that is really the bulk of the work that we do every day here at IABBB.
So have you ever found something interesting when you were doing your A/B test? Like people prefer blue lettering over red lettering or something like that?
Oh, absolutely. Like that's one thing that the A/B testing is interesting to see what preferences people have in terms of colors and also headlines, imagery. Oftentimes it's not what you expect. I would think that this particular color would be more engaging, would resonate better. But, once we run the test, oftentimes it's not what we expect. And partly that's why we run these tests.
Exactly.
If I just knew all the answers, then I wouldn't have to analyze the data to help understand what's really going on.
So a lot of the data that you're getting is from Google and from your marketing. What do you do after you get this data?
A good example is on a monthly basis, we provide a report to the entire organization, and that's pulling data out of both Adobe and Google Analytics to help our local membership understand better how we're performing, so that when they're talking to prospective customers or working with existing customers, they have the information to show the value of being a part of our organization. And so on a monthly basis, I compile several reports and then provide a write-up on what we're seeing in the data, what trends we're seeing. There's a number of things within the search community that we know are coming, and then we let the membership know what's coming, how we're tracking it, and then as these what we refer to as algorithm updates, it's when Google changes the way in which they're maybe going to rank something, we monitor that in order to determine, did we get impacted, and if we did, what do we need to do potentially to mitigate the changes, because this is an environment that's constantly changing. Every month there's something new, there's a change they've made that we need to be aware of, and making sure that we're not getting negatively impacted as these changes are getting rolled out.
That's really interesting. So you're doing the research yourself. It's not like somebody that's publishing this and you're just reading about it. You're actually going in and figuring out how these changes are affecting your company's page directly.
Exactly. It's kind of the combination. Like there's a lot of really smarter people out there than myself who are looking at what's coming, talking to the industry experts, writing articles. There's a number of industry related publications, digital publications, specifically around SEO, search engine optimization, and digital marketing. And so they're the ones who kind of are looking at the future and then letting us know as kind of the day-to-day practitioners of what's coming. Then, what's often happens is a change will occur, but we don't get impacted by it because we weren't doing something maybe that Google didn't like, and now, so we didn't ever get impacted, but we need to monitor that, make sure that we weren't, and then report on it that, hey, everything looks good, or actually, know what, we're seeing a decline. We're actually experiencing this right now. We have an update that rolled out about a month and a half ago, specifically targeting kind of content that's not really ours, but Google's picking us up. It's what's referred to as review content. So someone writes a review on a product. Well, Google's trying to improve the quality of these reviews. A big portion of our website are what we refer to as our business profiles. That's the information on our businesses. Well, those pages have gotten picked up in that algorithm update, even though they're not technically review pages, and we've seen a slight decline in traffic in the last month in that. So we're aware of it, and now we're putting together what do we do about it? And unfortunately, it's not a quick fix, but we do know the areas of improvement that we need to make, and now we can communicate that to the decision makers. They can then begin planning for it, and that's just kind of a good example of Google does something, we knew about it a little in advance, but we didn't know we would get impacted by it. We did, and then all these other processes kind of take off from that standpoint.
That's really interesting and kind of unique that you guys got impacted even though you're not reviewing, and now you have to adjust a little bit here and there to fix everything.
And the nature of the business, it really is one that's a constant, it's a constant change. And so things that you don't think should impact you do, and then you have to deal with it and come up with solutions. So it's what makes it fun. Every day you don't know what you're going to find, so it always gives us a new challenge and a new problem to solve.
Yeah. So you were kind of talking, do you work with like a team of people on this? You said you produce reports. Who are you giving these reports to?
So the BBB is an interesting organization. We are made up of, I believe at this point, 98 members, along with IABBB, which is the organization that oversees all of the individual BBBs. And so this reporting is both for my executives at IABBB, but also for all of the teams at the local level, the marketing teams, the sales teams, and the executives, so they know what's going on because they're now out on the ground talking to a prospective customer, and they use this data in those conversations as well.
And the work that you do, are you mostly working by yourself, or do you have a team of analysts that you're working with?
As large as the BBB is, we are a small organization at IEBB, so it's a small team. There's just a couple of us that really monitor and watch this. However, larger Fortune 500 companies, this could be a team. It could be several people. Oftentimes, in a digital marketing division within a larger corporation, you're going to have data scientists, you're going to have graphic design, copywriters, you're going to have people who set up ads and run them. So it's all of that, and so you can see how the data just flows through all of that. But at our organization, we're small, we're agile, and so it's myself, a couple others. I'm really looking at the hard data to show something's happening. We've seen visits increase by 10%. Why is that? Where is it coming from? In those type of questions and answers.
So when you're actually looking at that data, that 10% increase, what are you using to analyze that? Do you use specific programming languages or Tableau, Excel?
So Excel is definitely a tool that's used heavily within, the analysis. But oftentimes I'm just using the tool, specifically Adobe Analytics, and that tool it's a Fortune 500 analytics package that is, it is amazing in what you can do within it. And so a lot of the analysis is done using that tool or using the tool's built-in predictive analytics. So it has its own AI that monitors our traffic. It basically gives me an interesting layout where it shows me what's happening. It shows me what it believes is the variant. Then there's an area outside of the variance, and that then indicates there's indicators that let me know something happened, an anomaly basically. And then we get to go in. The job of the analyst is the tool tells us something's up. Now we got to go in and figure out why. There is a subjective nature to this. It is analysis, but you're putting together your opinion on why you think something's happening. Now you can develop some experiments to try to prove it, but in general, that's what we're looking to, is to see where anything has gotten out of what we would expect and then look into why. And as an analyst, you could spend, all of your time just pulling data, crunching numbers, looking for anomalies when they're like, hey, we can do that. You need to go use your intelligence to ask the right questions and find out the answers. So
asking the right questions is extremely important, even when you're starting to collect the data all the way to after you've got it and you've analyzed it.
Absolutely. I kind of had this as one of my end takeaways, but as an analyst and as someone who's in this industry right now, I think the biggest kind of skill and the thing that I think is really indicator of this could be a good field for you is just the desire to ask questions, to then, because the answers are available. We have Google, we have software, we have all these tools to help us answer, but the tools can't ask the questions. They don't know what to ask. And so that's really the key. And so finding that kind of that creative questioning is, I think, so key to being a successful data analyst. It's that curiosity of wanting to know, why is that happening? I see it's happening. There's everything, there's things happening every day. It's that part of you that says, well, why did that happen? And the analyst, is now a job where you get to go do that. You get to go find the answers, and there's so many amazing tools to do that.
You get to be a data detective.
Absolutely. I kind of tell this in my, I'm both a detective and an investigative journalist, that, and I love it. You have an idea, you see something's up, there's something going on and you're not really sure why. Well, then you got to dive into it and you got to begin asking those questions. You got to be that detective. You got to be that investigative journalist and really get behind the scenes on what's really happening. And if you like that, if that's a part of your personality, I think data analysis can be a real, it seems like when you look at it from the high level, it could be very, dry, very, it's just statistical analysis, and it's like, but it's so much more than that, because that's just the surface. It's really, when you go into it, it's figuring out the why and then coming up with a plan to address it, and that's where the real creativity happens.
I can tell when you're talking about this that this is something that you really enjoy. So that's great that you found absolutely. A good match for you.
Yeah, no, I think I would have never really. I always liked math. I was always decent at it, but it wasn't a passion. But what I did as I was going through school, realized is that I always was just curious about why things happened. And that really led to, oh, this is a good fit. This is, and I will say too, the other part of me, and this isn't a requirement, but it's something that I find has been helpful for me is I enjoy service, and so the idea of, people coming to me with questions or with problems, and then I get to go out and try to solve those problems or figure out why are they experiencing that issue. So there is this service element that to me it really kind of completes the why this is such an enjoyable job for me in that regard of not only do I get to be creative in finding these problems and solutions, but I get to help people in solving their problems with the data. And there is a very, a sense of accomplishment when at the end of the day, you've really helped the client figure out why something's happening that's been bothering them for a very long time. And it's a very rewarding aspect.
So could you give us an example of how some of the data that you've analyzed and the results that you've gotten has then led to a change in the BBB organization, even if it's something small?
An example was we ran static ads along with video ads to see what would be the difference. But in this analysis, we realized that the video ads performed as well as the static ads from a click, cost, all that standpoint. However, we got this added benefit, which was 90% of the people that saw the ad watched the entire video and clicked. When we run our next campaign, we will be focusing much more heavily on the video.
That's awesome. It's great the ways you can see that your data analysis is going to lead to hopefully better things for the company.
Exactly.
So as someone in a leadership role who has mentored people below you, what advice do you have for somebody who's, starting off in this career path?
In terms of, the data analyst, I think part of it is this something that you want to do? And I really come back to that. Do you love asking questions and finding out the answers? If you have that creativity, if you like problem solving, the data analyst in role is perfectly suited. And the thing that is so awesome about it too is it's needed in every industry. And so that was kind of my other P is like, if you have curiosity, let's say you have a passion for environmental justice, well, there's an absolute need for data analysis to help with legislation or policy, or if you love just you love good capitalism and you want to run a website and you like selling stuff and you're an entrepreneur, there's a huge opportunity to use the data to make those better decisions. So I think that's one of the great things about it is that it's a skill that is needed really within any business and within any industry right now, and it's only growing as the data that we're developing grows, because there's an infinite amount of data. It's overwhelming, and the real thing that I look for is I need it to be actionable. Like if it isn't actionable, then it's just entertainment. You're just like So but the point with that is that there is so much actionable data out there for every industry, and the ability to find not only a role in this kind of creative problem-solving world of data analysis, but in finding an industry that lights you up, that you have a passion for, and that you can use this data to help them make better decisions, I think is really the key.
So if somebody decided that they were really interested in being an SEO analyst, what would you tell them to work on now? Like what are the most important hard and soft skills? How could they get to where you are?
To become an SEO analyst, part of it is it's done by doing. The start of it is the research part. There is a wealth of information on the internet at this point with how to do SEO, how to understand it. And I've even seen, some college courses starting to be developed around digital marketing SEO. But even without that, there's so much information on the internet right now regarding SEO, SEO Roundtable, SEO Search Engine Land. There's a number of these websites out there that are just everyday content's being developed on what's going on in the industry, what's, where are we going, what's happening. So really getting, just well versed in that ecosystem of the content that's out there. One of the big things when it comes to SEO and digital right now is content. So now we're talking about a lot of, potential skill sets that maybe don't overlap well, but good writing, like good copywriting is going to be a big key to SEO, to digital marketing in the next 5 years, especially with this third-party cookie issue that's coming. It's all going to be about content development for segmentation to get in front of your right audience. So and then getting a little bit of marketing chops too. I think that it's easy to, let's say you're a CSE major and all your focus is on, these hardcore engineering, science, data classes. It might not be a bad idea to take a little bit of marketing, to take a few of those. And especially if your school's offering more digital marketing related classes, because what you begin to see is you got to kind of begin to understand how all these pieces fit together, because they're all interrelated. They all work together. And so the more that you can understand the basic concepts of digital marketing, how to track, how to, develop the strategies, that then plays right into what's happening in SEO. And really at that point too, once, if you're in, let's say, a program right now, I would look for internships. I mean, I just so you all know, it was 2001, the economy's tanking, and nobody's getting jobs, and I literally went out to a company and I was like, look, I will work for you for free. I just need an internship. I need this experience, getting that initial experience working with an agency, getting in and learning from those who are doing it is really, especially with this industry, is the best way to become an expert at it, is just to get in there and to do it. It should be coming clear of like, this industry is both an art and a science. Like there really is this need for very, strong analytic skills, but you also have to be very creative. You have to be very strategic oriented. Everyone's really focused on this stuff these days because every company I talk to realizes the absolute need for this skill set in their organization. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity for anyone coming out of school or in school right now with this background.
Well, if any of our listeners are interested in finding an internship, you should listen to our summer mini-series all about how to get an internship and how to make the most out of it. And also we can link some resources, some of your favorite SEO resources into the description of the episode too.
I'd be happy to do that. Absolutely.
Excellent. So finally, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like our listeners to know that we didn't get a chance to cover today?
The keyword of analyze, and I looked up the official definition: to discover or reveal something through detailed examination. And I think that, after all of this talk, it really just comes back to that of do you enjoy finding something deeper than what it looks like on the surface? And if you do, this is there's a lot of really great opportunities within this field, and there's so much variety in terms of what kind of jobs you can be doing utilizing this skill set that, I think it comes back to that. If you're curious and you love figuring out why something happened and finding solutions based on your findings, data analysis is a great fit. So I'll leave it with that.
Well, Nathan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Hope what I shared here is helpful to some of you out there, or to all of you out there. It was great talking with you, Heather. This was really fun. And I'll definitely be providing some follow-up resources that hopefully can help everyone listening dive into this a little bit deeper.
Excellent. And to all of our listeners, if you haven't already, check out our previous podcasts. They're available wherever you listen to podcasts. And for more information about starting your career as a data scientist or an SEO analyst, go to dataanalytics.buffalostate.edu. And don't forget to subscribe so that you get a notification each time we release a new episode of Buffalo State Data Talk.